Hello,
Hey.
everyone. Hi.
How are you?
Fantastic.
It's so good to see you.
Thanks for everyone for being here. Appreciate you.
We are still on a huge high.
Yeah.
You know, we're Seahawks fans, and so we went and watched the game last night, and it was such a fun night, and it was even better because they won, and like just opening very first run, it was like, what was it, a 95-yard football or
something like that? Yeah, kickoff return.
It was just amazing. It was so much fun, and it's like that's one of the things too in those moments like that about really being able to feel alive. So
yeah, the energy was fantastic.
It was so much fun, and then we got to run into
Daniel?
run into other Seahawks fans and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So really quick before we jump in, because of that, Seahawks are playing next week. So we're not going to have a live show, but we're going to record the next episode for this series. So you guys will still have the video at 5 p.m., but it won't be live. So just to give you guys a heads up for that. And then you guys will also probably notice in posts in the upcoming couple weeks or whatever, we're going to take the day off for the Super Bowl. So there will not be any recording, and there will not be a show on February 8th. So hopefully you guys will miss us and want to be back the following week. But we just thought we want to take the day and have some fun. So not that this isn't fun. That didn't come out right.
Right.
we just want to change the bucket that our fun is in on that week. So, any other opening thoughts, Johnny boy, before we jump in?
I think you covered it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead and share the screen, Ruby. All right. Welcome once again to Deservingly You. This is a space for rebuilding after control and learning how to belong to yourself again. Now, here's where urgency actually softens and our clarity returns, and you're beginning to allow yourself to find your footing without that sense of being rushed. So I'm Shannon Avery Briggs. I'm a certified transformational resilience coach and co-founder of Luminous Connections.
I'm John Briggs, also certified transformational resilience coach and co-founder of Luminous Connections. And our work here comes from a lived experience, from knowing that what it's like to move without a reliable inner compass, that you can depend on, and from learning how stability is rebuilt patiently from within yourself.
Yeah. Like we mentioned last week, this discussion is inspired by the teachings of Brendan Burchard. And last week we began with calibration, learning how to see clearly without judgment. And tonight we're going to take that next step into alignment. Now, this isn't a destination, but it's more for a perspective of orientation. And it's a way of answering the questions, where do I start, without getting overwhelmed.
And misalignment is it isn't being off track. It's carrying too much internal contradiction. You could say. Alignment begins when that friction starts to ease.
So if you're here live, or if you're listening quietly, you matter. Your presence, no matter what, matters. And this is just open conversation. These are different ideas that we're bringing forward that from our own learnings and some aha ideas that we have had through our experience that we want to bring and share with others to hopefully have them be able to pick up and create their own breakthroughs and their ahas.
So please grab a notebook, write down anything that stands out to you, maybe jot down a question for later during Q&A. Hit like and subscribe. Maybe share it with someone that you think could use this information, so it could reach people who where it was meant to. Yeah, and really help them to move forward through their journey.
So as always, before we move forward, we want to set the stage and set the tone for the evening. We're creating a space, and Deservingly You is intentional by design. It's a place for growth and for reflection and for realignment. It's not about pressure or performance or anything.
Think of it as like a social learning platform. You're not here to prove anything. You're not here to have it all figured out. You're here to notice what's actually happening for you, okay, not to you, and to let clarity emerge in real time.
Yep. And so because of that, we want to encourage you to participate in the chat. And so what that might look like is sharing a reflection or a question, or even like an aha moment. It might be a score number. Most often, and we found this with ourselves, the most powerful moments come from hearing how something lands for somebody else. And then we kind of connected some dots and said, aha, that makes sense.
Yeah. We want to name this clearly, right? Listening is also participating, just being here, present, having that energy, of all of us being here together. And, the more available you are to this moment, the more useful and supportive that this time becomes for everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, a few minutes ago, John invited you to grab a notebook. If you haven't done that yet, I invite you to go ahead and grab one. And this isn't about forgetting different things. Actually, when we write things down, it helps our nervous system integrate what really matters to us. And it helps slow the mind to give that insight somewhere to land.
It helps you to remember it too, your brain to kind of settle into that and to hold on to it. So with that intention set, let's begin by exploring what alignment really means. Okay, and how knowing where to start can change everything and really make a shift.
Yep. And so we want to talk too about what this series is about. So the way that we have set up Deservingly You is we kind of come and bring whether it's 4-part series or 6-part series, stuff like that, so that we can have a conversation and be able to deep dive it. And so this one is about New Year protocols. And this isn't about to overhaul your life. It actually is designed to help you notice where you've been operating on autopilot, as well as something, you might be wanting something and feel that there's something that's ready for more presence. And many people are, function well on the inside or on the outside, but they feel muted on the inside. The other thing too is a lot of times at this time of the year, the beginning of the year, we want to set like New Year's resolutions, and a lot of people don't know how to do that without having them fail. And so that's kind of what this evening is talking about. This is a way that we can bring awareness forward, not as a problem, but as a way that we can signal ourselves.
Yeah. Well, most New Year's resolutions, they focus on goals and effort. This series focuses on coherence. Okay. When your inner and outer life, when they begin to line up, is what we're going to focus on tonight.
Yeah. So that's the foundation that we're working from tonight. Awareness first, no pressure. So this slide comes from a simple but powerful truth that we've learned over time, and we've been taught on it several different times. And if you strip away all of the details and the strategies and the self-improvement noise, there are a few core desires that every single person in the world has, and that drive almost all human behavior, not consciously, but consistently.
Yeah. We know that in that first block there, people want vitality. Okay. They want to feel energized, emotionally awake, and capable, right? With whatever they're doing. Not just getting through the day, but actually in it, right? In it to win it. And when vitality is low, life feels heavy, everything takes just more effort than it really should.
Yeah. And so that vitality is like really feeling truly alive and experiencing it. Another piece of it is belonging. People want to belong. They want to be able to feel safe in connection. They want to know that they matter, and to actually experience a mutual care instead of that guarded interaction. And when belonging is missing, people don't stop wanting that connection. But one of the things that they can start doing is they stop risking it. They stop putting themselves out there.
And then, people, they also want purposeful connections there. And then to put their time and energy toward things that make them feel meaningful, and that are meaningful to them personally, not just tasks, roles, or their own or somebody else's expectations. Okay. When contributions feel heavy, just the motivation just drops, and even when someone looks successful on the outside, that can definitely, the inside just isn't moving along like it should.
Yep. And so you'll notice on here too that we've got all three of those top ones with a star beside them. And the reason that they've got a star beside them is that all three of these areas are supported by the foundation of growth. And all people want growth. They want to keep learning, they want to keep expanding, and they want to feel like their life is moving forward instead of looping. And when we experience situations where growth stalls, people aren't getting lazy. So many times they're discouraged. If you remember last week when we talked about that, that when adversity happens, they can end up getting discouraged. And so that can end up stalling our growth.
Yeah. These four desires, they're always operating, probably usually on a subconscious level, and when they're met, life just feels aligned, right? And when they're blocked, people feel restless, frustrated, or stuck, and often without even knowing what's going on or why.
I want to go back. I'm sorry, John. Did you have anything else?
No? That was it. Thank you.
Okay. So, one of the things I want to touch on what Leonard said, because he talked about he's accepted the fact that no one cares. Here's the thing, Leonard, is that with belonging, there's a responsibility that comes with that. That's not just other people. The thing with belonging and wanting to feel that connection, here's the word, mutual. So the thing is like just it has to be mutual. It has to go both ways, and so if you are not getting the care that you need from other people, then you need to choose additional people to reach out to. Does that make sense? And you have a responsibility. You can't just rely on their offer. You have a responsibility as well.
Was that Leonard, the one that we're familiar with, or because I saw Leon?
Yeah, it's Leonard. It's Leonard.
Okay, got it. To go along with that, one must generate love, just the best they can continually in order to attract, because you tend to attract what you're putting out there. That's what I'm not saying you're not doing that, Leonard. I'm just saying that that's just something to keep in mind. So we love you. We love you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely. So we talked about those four basic giant desires that everybody has, but a lot of time, how do we get there? How do we have that life? And so this is where a lot of people get stuck, and the missing link for those people, they may even know what they want and may have even set good goals, but their daily life doesn't change. And that doesn't mean that it's because they're not motivated.
Yeah. You know, goals don't create the experience. They give direction, but you know, they create intention and reality. They give us, you know, they give us something to aim for, but they don't shape how life actually feels from day to day, you know.
And this was when we first did this, when we were first learning this blew my mind. This whole entire training that we went through on this totally blew my mind. When they shared what shapes our daily life is routine. It's what you repeat. What happens is your routines actually train your nervous system and tell your body what to expect. Sorry about that. And they shape your energy, your focus, and your availability long, way before our motivation shows up. And that's how vitality and connection and meaning show up, or they don't.
And without them, routines, that is, you know, the goals stay theoretical, you know. With routines, change becomes embodied. Okay. It becomes part of your identity, you could say. And most people, they try to jump straight from desire to the outcome, you know, but without routines, goals, they just stay abstract, and they live in your head, not in your body or on your calendar. And that's the big difference right there.
Yep. So we'll ask the question again, how do we get there? Yeah. Because this work isn't about doing more. It's actually about choosing routines that support the life that you say that you want to live. It's actually building a better structure, and routines are how our desires become an experienced live experience. That was kind of weird the way that came out. Anyway, it becomes a lived experience, and that's how we get there. Is we set that better structure up, and so yeah, I like that, Jay. Yes, definitely doing the same thing over and over. It's the insanity. So we're gonna take this step by step tonight and have you, because like I said, this totally, when I first heard this concept, it totally blew my mind, because I thought it was like, okay, I want to set a goal and just, you know, set all of these things up. But what I learned was that I was doing it backwards. So we're going to take you guys through it and see what you guys think. So before we talk about changing anything, or directing those routines, we need to understand what the system is underneath of it. And we need to get clear about what we're actually working with, because once again, clarity is so important. And effort without clarity doesn't tell us where to do the work.
Yeah, and when those roles, they get blurred and effort is misplaced, people don't just feel stuck, right? They feel confused about why they're stuck in the first place, and wonder why nothing feels any different, you know, than it did yesterday or last week, last month, last year.
Yeah. Now, here's the simplest way to think about it. Your desires point to why you want to change. They tell you what matters. And then your goals point to where you're aiming and heading. Now, where routines come in with this is they're that middle ground. It's like they're the translators, and they carry those desires and how those desires actually reach your daily life.
And the frustration usually shows up when people, they misuse the tools that are presented. You know, they overload tasks, hoping that life will feel meaningful and fulfilled. But, you know, they chase goals to try to fix how their day feels, hoping that their nervous system will settle down. And neither of those works because neither was designed to do that, that particular job. The tasks, they keep things running along, and goals, they give direction. And like Shannon said, routines are what translates the desire into a lived experience.
Yeah, so it's almost like if you were to take a screwdriver and try to use it as a hammer. It's like, it's just, they're different tools and when we use them. So it's those routines that are what shape the experience. And when they're aligned, life starts to feel coherent. And when those routines are missing or they're misaligned, people work hard and still feel disconnected. Now, that's not failure with good intentions. What that is a systems issue.
I wanted to add to what Shannon said about the tool, the screwdriver. And that would come to mind is if all you have is a hammer, everything becomes a nail. There's different tools that are, for a different job,
Yeah. So if routines are what translate desire into lived experience, the next question then becomes, where do those routines actually come from? Because they don't exist in theory. They show up in specific areas of life. And these are the places that you actually are spending your time, that you make your decisions, and also where you manage your energy.
Yeah, that's where alignment here, that works. The work gets more clearer, okay, with alignment. And when we start talking about these life arenas, that really comes together.
Yep. So when we're talking about these arenas, though, we're not starting with goals. We're actually starting with experience, because every goal that you have ever set was really an attempt to feel something inside of your life.
Yeah. The life arenas are simply the main areas where the goals tend to settle, and live. Okay. The work, relationships, health, finances, personal growth, rest, but before you can write a single goal down, okay, there's a more important step. You look at if you look at the arena itself there and take responsibility for how you've been showing up, in that place, in those areas, okay, not with judgment, but just with honesty. Okay. What was my role in this?
Yep. And this is where you take a pause. And just like we've done the last couple of weeks, we've done a score. And this isn't to criticize ourselves, but it's to orient ourselves. Like we talked about, where have I been showing up in this area? And what does that feel like internally? What would it take to move one step from that spot? Not where you wish you were, but this is where you actually are. And that's what starts creating that alignment and strengthens it.
Yeah. There's a story that captures this well. Someone once shared a goal that of making a large amount of money. Okay. But when they slowed down, but they realized the goal was never about the money. It was about how they believed that money, or what they believed the money would create, and the freedom, the confidence, security, the choice. The goal was just in place, kind of as a stand-in for the inner experience. That reminds me of what Ed Milet shares, and a lot of his content is that we really don't want the thing. We want how it's going to make us feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically when like you want all this money or whatever, it's not piles of paper that you want all over your desk or all over your house. It is that feeling. It's the feeling that you expect to come along with the outcome.
Yeah.
We don't, we want that state that we believe that that outcome is going to give us, which means that we can start designing that state now. And so, Leonard, if you're, this is one of those things, is like what state in regards to the when you've got relationships, what do you want that state to look like? And so we start building on that. So here's the real question for this. It's not what you want to achieve, but how do you want to feel inside of your life experience? This is something that we actually generate, and it's not something that we earn. So for example, like with relationships and stuff, that's not something that you earn. It's something that you work at and that you generate.
That's why we ask you to choose the 3 words. Remember that? Okay. The 3 words that describe your inner experience that you want to live from this year forward.
Yep. So for example, for me, I want the feeling that I want, the inner feeling that I want for this year is I want to feel confident. I want to feel vibrant, and I want to feel centered. Now, these aren't goals. They're states of being. And once you're clear on that, then you can start designing those routines in each area of your life, all of those arenas that support that feeling that you want to have.
And when you start with the inner experience, the goals, they just become clearer. Okay, they really start to open up for you, and the routines become more intentional, and effort just stops feeling so scattered, right, all over the place.
Yeah. So I'd love to invite the audience to put in the chat, what 3 words would they like to experience? What's that inner state that they would like to have this year? Because this is how that alignment begins, from the inside out. And then we take one arena at a time. So we start in that middle state, that inner state. How do we want to feel? What about your 3 words, John?
Love, grounded, and accepted. Those change.
Yeah.
Definitely these feelings and the words can change as time goes forward. Not necessarily change, but just kind of move around.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to take it a step further here on this next one. And once again, I want to put that precursor that this is not about judgment. This is just taking information. We've talked about it in the past, that it's data, not drama. And so we've got a little chart on the screen here, and this is one that you guys can take a picture of if you want, but we'll kind of walk through this. Most goals end up failing because they're written from where somebody wishes they were, not where they actually are. So what check-ins do, and this is like a check-in tool, what they do is they help us to close that gap. So before we set any goals, we actually pause, not to analyze or judge, like I said, and not to try to fix anything. We're just checking in, because goals work the best when they come from that awareness and that clarity, not from avoiding or discomfort.
And this is about personal responsibility, not self-criticism or judging yourself where you're at, in the moment. Just remember last week when we talked about self-leadership. It's about taking ownership of that. Okay. Responsibility without shame, is what creates momentum. And you're simply noticing how you've been showing up in each of these areas.
So for each area, then we notice as we ask a few simple questions. Where am I right now? And what does that feel like internally? And if I were honest, what number reflects that? So if we look at, fitness or health as one right now, what number would reflect where I'm at right now? And this isn't as a verdict, it's just information. And the thing is like we will never be perfect, so there are always areas that we can grow in. And there's always something that we can be taking on and working towards. And so this, like I said, is a little tool that can help us. So if we were to say, this is the way that I want to feel right now in regards to fitness. So if we look at fitness, for example, and say, I want to feel more energized. Right now, I'm feeling about like a 3. Where do I want to feel? Well, I would love to feel at least a 6 or a 7. And so what's one step that I could take to help me to feel more? And it might, if I look at my sleep, for example, I might not be getting 8 hours of sleep. And so one step that I could do is I could set an evening alarm so that it tells me to start, I need to kind of settle down for the evening so that I can actually get that sleep. So I love that, Linda. And so that's the way you use this tool. Same type of thing, like if we want to take a look at our finances, for example, it's like if I think about my finances and my situation financially, how do I feel? What are 3 words? If I want to feel confident, do I feel confident in my finances? What would I score myself as with that? Is it a 10? Am I a millionaire or whatever, or is there some things that I could work towards? And so for like, if we use that as an example, say like I'm a 3 because I don't feel, I want to get more, I want to get my car paid off or something like that. And so if I got my car paid off, this is the way that I would feel, like an 8 or a 10 or something like that. So what's a tiny step that I can take to get me there?
Yeah. I remember that, the score, it doesn't define you. It's not a label. In a sense, it's just a location where you're at and where you'd like to be. And, it gives you somewhere to start. Okay. And you can't design the next step until you know where you're standing, right now or in that moment. Alignment always starts with your truth. And, if you want to make some changes, then it does require to take that closer look and being willing to make some changes.
And that's how this alignment begins, is with that awareness that's compassionate. We never want to use these numbers as a judging tool. This is it's a compassionate, honest look that is steady enough to support the change that we want in our life. And so from here, we don't just leap ahead. We start looking at that next step, that smallest shift that would help support that inner experience. Remember that feeling that we want. So Linda had used confident, peaceful, and curious. So what's that next step that's going to support that feeling of confidence, peaceful, and curious, so that you want to live from? And that's the way that change actually becomes sustainable, that we're not going all over the place with our emotions going all over the place, or our life implodes or explodes and stuff like that. It's by making this alignment. So now we want to take a look at, and we're going to see if we can make this practical, and that not theoretical, not idealized. This is just an idea that could come from real life. For example, we're going to use a closer family connection. This isn't a task, it's a feeling. It's that example of how a desire becomes a lived experience through routines.
And it isn't complicated. The desire, that is, it's just belonging, that feeling of belonging, specifically the closer family connection there. And, that's the inner experience that that many of us are looking for, how it's going to make us feel.
So we notice like how it starts, not with the pressure, not with trying to fix relationships. It just starts with naming the desire clearly and then looking honestly at a current reality. Where are we at right now? And what does that actually feel like? That's the score. What does it feel like with that if we were to give it a number?
Yeah. And from that number, we don't just jump to some big, huge outcome, do we? We look for routines that support that desire. And, small, repeatable actions, that as we start to develop that routine, the phone call, that we can make, that connection with, and really to consider the content and not of that content and or that call. And so it's just not real, superficial, one could say, or sit down for a shared meal, perhaps with someone, and just being present in that moment, and thinking ahead to that and how we really want that to look and what we want that outcome to be.
Yeah. So this is how and where alignment happens. That desire still stays the same. Our goal becomes clearer and the routine becomes that bridge. And then from there, it's like the routines are doing the quiet work behind. There's no grand gestures or anything. They're just repeatable moments that create that safety and presence over time. And there was I was actually talking to another a client earlier this week, and we walked through this with her. Now with hers, one of her goals, because she was saying how her fitness coach, she submitted her goals to her fitness coach, and her fitness coach came back and said, yeah, no, that's not a goal, kind of thing. Nuh-uh. And so we actually put this framework in and walked through this framework with her. One of her goals that she was talking about, she wanted to be able to have it covered actually all three: the vitality, the belonging, as well as the pursuit. And so that was her ultimate, the top desire. The thing that she wanted to be able to do was to go on a 5K. She wanted to be able to run a 5K with her son. So that's like the run a 5K with her son was, if we look at that even as a relational goal. But some of the things that she needed to do was she needed to say, okay, if I were to score myself right now in regards to how ready I am with meeting that goal, is like, I'm probably about a 3 because I'm still sitting on the couch kind of thing. But what she wanted to be able to do, that desired feel that she wanted at the end, was like a 9 or 10. And what that meant to her, if she translated that 9 or 10, she would feel accomplished. She would feel closer to her son. She would have pride in herself, those types of things. And so in order for her to actually get to that feel, that desired feel, that higher score, her routine incorporated things like when am I'm going to have to be working out certain days, certain times and stuff like that. And so those were some of the things that she had to start looking at. And then some of the support steps that she needed to add to that was to block out time on her calendar. It would be like making sure that making sure that she had the right using different tools that she might need. It might be an app that she could use to help her train. And then you break it down further to the tasks is like, okay, so today I need to run, or I need to walk a certain amount of time or something like that. So can you see how it like starts big and then you just break it down and break it down and break it down and break it down. And then ultimately by the time that you reach that goal, you experience that, it's that feeling that she will end up experiencing with her son as well as with herself by putting these into place.
And remember that nothing here is some huge dramatic shift all at once, but it's consistent. Okay, and consistency is what turns longing, okay, into lived belonging. You could say, and that's the shift. We stop trying to achieve belonging and start practicing that very thing.
Yep. So this is how, like using a framework like this, we can take anything that we look in our life, and ultimately we all want to grow. So we can look at any of the desires that we want. This is how they actually become daily life. It's one routine, one area, and one steady choice at a time. So now we'd love to open this up and ask what stood out to you as you were listening tonight. We'd love to hear from you. Is there any realizations or any questions, something that you noticed about yourself?
As a reminder, we invite one person up on the stage at a time. It just helps us to stay focused, connected, and present, and kind of dialed in on one person, their question or their comments, and this is for you and for everyone.
Yep. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to share your whole story or anything like that, but we'd love to see what you guys think. This, like I said, when we first went through this, when John and I first went through this training, it blew my mind and totally changed the perspective. Because the other thing too, like with goals, they always seemed kind of overwhelming.
Yeah. We also would appreciate any feedback as well. What your thoughts are on our content, any ideas perhaps, to throw out there. And if you'd like to come on stage, just let us know in the chat, or if you'd prefer, just share there in the chat, and that's always welcome as well throughout the hour.
It seems like we got a quiet group tonight, and that's okay. It's no
pressure.
Yep. One of the things, so we want to introduce something that we're going to start going forward to support that integration, but beyond our Sunday nights. Because the other thing too is like coming out on a YouTube channel live and like spilling everything out there, it can be really uncomfortable. And so we get that. So what we've decided to do is to actually start having a reflection and discussion in Discord the next day. So towards the end of each show, we're going to be offering a short of set questions. Let me try that again. We're going to be offering a set of reflection questions that are related to that evening's topic. And so you can see the 4 questions that we've got here tonight. And so this is a way for you to continue meeting yourself. That's what the ultimate goal for this channel is to do, is to help you. And so these prompts are designed to help you notice what's actually important to you, not what you've been conditioned to prioritize or perform. This is, we're teaching you, hopefully, teaching you how to practice self-leadership in practice. And if you remember last week, self-leadership is a skill. It's a skill that we can develop. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be posting these questions in the Discord channel after the show. And then tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll open up the live chat the voice or chat, and we're going to have the opportunity to talk about this.
And remember, like we've talked about before, self-leadership, it starts internally, right? By listening to yourself clearly and honestly. But it also grows relationally, you know, with the people in your life. And by hearing how others are thinking, you know, by sharing yours and their perspective, you know, by staying present in conversation without needing to convince someone else or defend where you're at. Okay. And that's the second skill that we're building here.
Yep. So Ruby, can you also put the Discord link up if you've got it handy? So each week we'll offer a short set of reflection prompts, like I said, and they're not meant to be answered perfectly by any means. We want you to look and notice what is inside of you and what's rising, where your attention is naturally going to go there.
And we'll be posting those same questions in the XJW Friends Discord channel, and on Monday evenings. We'll open a live voice and a chat space for anyone who wants to talk them through together. You know, that's on Monday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, as well as 4 p.m. Pacific Time. You know, you can listen, you can type, you can speak, you know, all these count. You know, we appreciate it. Any of that and all participation. So thank you.
These are the types of things that, you know, when we say over and over, and John and I have shared over and over about people being surprised about, I can't believe that you've only been out the short period of time that you've been out. But it's by doing these types of activities and this type of work that has helped us to do that. And so that's why we wanted to be able to create the space for you guys to be able to do that if you wanted. It's a way for you to practice and to start meeting yourself from a different perspective, and to even practice being able to have different types of conversations. You know, it was like in the past under the high controlled environment, it's kind of like you had very specific ways of the way that the conversations went and the discussions went. But this is a way for us to, in a sense, it's like what the thought that's coming to my mind is actually being able to have finger painting in a way, but having our ideas and our curiosity come out and be able to share some of our ideas. And so that we can learn how to lead ourselves, and also how we can, so that we can learn how to relate to other people, because that's a big lesson. That is a big hurdle. You know, John says unplug from the organization is the first step. Yes, it is. But we have to learn how to be able to meet with others and to have conversations with them, and be able to relate more clearly without going into those reactive modes that John and I have shared about as well. And this is a space where we can start having those kind of conversations one at a time.
I wanted to add to that before we get too far away from it. Inside the organization, for me, it was just such an echo chamber. And having a conversation with anybody outside and accepting their viewpoint, you know, whether it was evolution or whatever, homosexuality, you know, trans, you know, just whatever, you know what I'm saying, I would shut down. You know, I wanted the conversation to end. It was so uncomfortable. But now I can talk about anything and be accepted, or and accept anyone.
Yeah.
And without being so defensive or shutting down, in that regard.
Yep.
So, and that's what this work has done for me.
So John actually will be on the road tomorrow. So it will be me. I'll be the one that's going to be leading it. Linda was asking where we're going to meet. So what I'll do is I'll get on Discord tomorrow and I'll make the announcement that we'll be meeting in the chat and voice lounge or something like that. I'm still relatively new to Discord, so I've only been in it for a few months. So, but basically where you can get on the phone or that section is where we'll do it. But we'll make I'll make a post about it tonight, and then when I get on tomorrow, I'll make the announcement that I'm there if anybody wants to join. Is that the way I should do it, Linda? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ruby. And also it's like the link is, it's not, you can't click on the link, but the address is on the slide as well. And if anybody isn't on the Discord, feel free to reach out to us on the Deservingly You channel as well, and we can get it to you, or on Facebook, either way. So hopefully this will bring a new aspect for you, and hopefully this will be great. So before we close, we want to share what's coming up next. Like we mentioned at the very start of the show, next week is going to be a recording. We're not going to be live because we're gonna go to the playoff game instead, or go watch the playoff games. So, but we will have this. We'll have this content. For this presentation, we'll have the. What John and I are going to record it and have it as a premiere. So it'll be the same time. The video will show at the same time, but it won't be live. So the other thing too is just a reminder, tonight was about that alignment and understanding how our desire, our routines, and our daily life fit together.
And last chance if you want to come on stage. Before we close, we got a few minutes. But next week, we're going to continue to build, on these things. By talking about preferences, not surface level likes or dislikes, but the deeper preferences. The things, the preferences that quietly shape how you make decisions.
Yeah.
And where you get stuck in that process.
Yep. And I also want to give you a heads up. Next week is going to be a challenging topic because many people struggle, not because they lack that motivation, but because they've never been taught how to identify what they actually prefer, or or give themselves permission to honor it. So it will be, I want to let you guys know that might be one that you might have a sense of friction to when you first hear it. But then so I encourage, if you do experience that, I would encourage you to go back and watch it again and just approach it with curiosity.
I believe that might be something that I know for me, but probably many others as well, because I'm not special. Is that in order to make serious changes and reach certain goals in your life, preferences need to shift. For me, my addiction and alcoholism, I certainly had to look at what I preferred. I used to prefer hanging out, in a bar, shooting pool with certain individuals, for example. Late nights. All that had to change. My preferences for certain things just had to change. And we're going to explore how unexamined preferences can keep you looping, and the often overlooked layer, and how clarity here can unlock movement without too much force.
Yep. Yeah. So if tonight gave you language or insight, next week is going to help you to apply it a little bit more. And we would absolutely love to have you join the the premiere, like we said, it is going to be a recording instead of a live. And so just heads up. So John was saying he's wondering how to get unstuck. So next week, like we said, there's we're going to start looking at some of those underlying things that we may not even have considered before. So we want to leave you tonight with this thought as you head into the week. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And that doesn't mean that we're forcing those outcomes. It means that we're choosing a direction, one honest step at a time.
And remember, that you can reach out to us personally for a more private conversation. Any questions that you want to present to us, we'll be glad to cover those topics for you. And everything we talked about tonight here is about creating from awareness, okay? Not reacting from habit. And alignment isn't about control; it's about intention.
Yeah, and that's that's one of the things too is continuing to ask ourselves, and are we living out of habit, or are we living intentionally? You don't have to know your whole path, but you do need to meet yourself where you're at and choose that next aligned step. And that's how we can actually create our future.
Yeah.
So, yes, we need to create it. So thanks for being here tonight, and for your presence, and for your attention, and for the quiet courage it takes to look at your life with honesty. We know that it's not easy. We've been there. We've had the tears, and as we were figuring stuff out, and as we were letting some of that pain out, and when we were learning new things, and it was all confusing. But it's like one step at a time, and you can have that life where you feel have a life of vitality, and so that you're not just living out of reaction and living in anger, and you can actually have joy, and you can create the joy, and you can summon the joy, and you can even with the challenges that you experience, you can honor those and move forward.
This only works when it's met with willingness, and you brought that tonight just by being here, whether you spoke, listened, or reflected privately. Your participation, it really matters, and you add value. Each and every one of you, appreciate you.
Yeah. So as you move into this week, please, please, please take what resonated and what didn't, leave it behind. It's okay. Alignment isn't about doing everything. It's about doing what's true, one step at a time.
Yeah. What works for you. Okay. And everyone's journey is their personal path, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, the channels with anybody who might need it. We appreciate your support, and we'll post the reflection questions in Discord, like we said earlier. And we'll be there Monday evening at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and that would be 4 p.m. Pacific Time, if you'd like to continue the conversation there as well.
And until then, please be gentle with yourself and notice what matters, and take one aligned step at a time. So thank you so much for this evening and for sharing space with us. So good night, everybody.
Appreciate you.